Hello boys and girls, welcome to my channel, I'm for Classic and welcome to Benchart. So for today what I do have in it is Lies of P, running on the Xbox Series S. So I want to talk a little bit about the graphical modes and the performance of the game, because this game doesn't perform exactly as the demo did perform. So when I did try the demo, I was a little bit disappointed with the offerings inside this game. So they have kind of a quality mode which target 30 frames per second, and they had a performance mode which did target 40 frames per second. But didn't make any sense because 40 frames per second in a 60 Hz screen, it's nothing. It's kind of variable frame rate. It doesn't, it isn't V-synced or anything in between the intervals of refresh of your TV. So it's a bad implementation. But at the release, all these issues have gone, because the game now offers three different graphic modes. So you have the quality mode, which targets the 30 frames per second and delivers the high quality possible for the Xbox Series S. You have the classic performance mode, which targets 60 frames per second without a single hitch or drop, which is perfect. And you have kind of a high frame rate mode. And well, when I saw this high frame rate mode, I was expecting it to be something like, oh right, this is a high frame rate mode built in for 130 Hz screens or TVs. And yeah, that was true. But nothing would prepare me for this, because when I thought about high frame rate mode, I was expecting something like 80, 90 frames per second. Something greater than 60 in the end. And it's not, because I did enable performance mode and I was about to activate the high frame rate mode when suddenly the game just said something like, no, 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 you can't use that. For high frame rate mode, you need to use quality modes. And I was like, what the? I mean, this doesn't make any sense. I mean, using high frame rate mode in quality mode, I mean, quality mode runs at 30 frames per second and it's more demanding than performance. How the hell high frame rate mode will work in this? But I decided to give it a try, obviously, and I put the game in quality mode. I did enable high frame rate mode, and the first feeling I notice is, alright, so I'm having the same graphics as quality mode, but it feels smoother. And that's because it was smoother. It certainly is 30 frames per second. It's something greater. It isn't 60 either, because 60 frames per second looks much more smoother. So I started to think about it, just like 1 minute, and I was like, alright, so this seems like this is the first Xbox game to implement 40 frames per second in a 120 Hz screen. That's the first thing I think about, because I know this is a requested thing for many games in the Xbox, because Sony and PlayStation 5 have done this in the past in games like Ratchet and Clank, where you have a 30 frames per second mode, a 60 frames per second mode. But then if you have a 120 Hz screen or TV, you can use quality mode with a 40 frames per second lock. Oh, I mean, there is another game that does this. I believe, yeah, we have a Plague Tale Requiem. It's not the first game, I'm sorry. But yeah, I believe it's another game that it does it. I can't really confirm because I don't have the tools to monitor frame rates and frame times, but I can bet one of my tomatoes. Alright, so one of my balls, which this is a 40 frames per second mode for 120 Hz screen. I will wait for Digital Foundry to confirm this. I'm very certain that it is that. Now, we have talked about the performance, but I mean, what are the visible differences that we can expect to notice in between performance mode and quality mode? Honestly, this is a game where differences, at least in this part, it is very difficult to notice the differences. There are two major differences that I've noticed immediately, and those were resolution. Obviously, performance mode, they have kind of a very low resolution upscaled by FSR, but you notice really a great difference in between performance and quality. Still, I'm a sucker for 60 frames per second, so I will still use performance mode despite the low resolution. It's not really that low, but it's visible low compared to quality mode. Alright. Quality mode, yeah, it packs more resolution. I believe the high-frame-rate mode uses the same resolution as quality mode, or at least it looks so. Alright, it shouldn't be really that different. And the second difference I have noticed the most, it was in performance mode, particles were spawning way less particles, alright? And it was way more blocky. Quality mode in that sense, or the high frame rate mode inside quality mode, it had much more particles and more in line with the PC version. Because yeah, I did try the game on PC, and I believe that even on the lowest settings, the particles were spawning way more than the Xbox Series S. So probably there are some special cuts made for the Series S, but for now it does look pretty good and it seems like an awesome port for the Xbox Series S. So it's not really it's not really that type of game which you pick for the Xbox Series S and think, oh, this sucks, the Xbox Series X or PS5 is much greater. No, that's not really the case. The Xbox Series S in this game is running really well. It offers 3 different graphical settings that it does work. And I mean, this game it is not pushing any boundaries, it's not using ray tracing, it's not using anything new about Unreal Engine 4, but all this art style, all this atmosphere, it is really outstanding. I haven't played Bloodborne, never played Bloodborne, and I know that the aesthetic is kind of similar. Some people compare this to Bloodborne. I don't know about the gameplay of Bloodborne compared to this, but what I do know is that I played the demo in the past and I did enjoy it a lot. I haven't finished it because I didn't want to spoil me too much because the demo was huge, but I decided to play it a little bit and I did enjoy it a lot. I finished the first big boss and I was like, oh, this is simply amazing, I want to have this game. And the only concern I really had, it was really just that performance mode. And now, with the final version, everything is fixed, so I'm very happy with that. I'm very happy with this port. Some games on Series S are really amazing, very well ported. I know that Mortal Kombat 1, despite I'm not going to test it, I know that it is running awesomely fine on the Xbox Series S. So, life is beautiful when this happens. Alright, so I think that's all that I want to talk about Lies of P. In this sense, hope you keep enjoying the rest of the video. In case you want to jump to any of the graphical presets, there is timestamps in the description of the video, and in case you want to ask me something about the game, about the Xbox Series S, about PCs, about anything, just leave a comment on the comment section of the video. So I believe that's all. Thank you a lot for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Goodbye.